Good morning, everybody. We've been back for a few weeks, but there have been quite a few things on the schedule, so we had to wait a little while to come up and give you guys a little rundown of how our trip went. First and foremost, I want to thank everybody that helped over the course of the last year. We couldn't have gone and done what we did without everyone's support. I mean, help with the fundraisers, whether you helped work, bought tickets, bought Boston Butts, helped run errands, played cornhole, ran around Dan Nicholas Park, all of it. You know, everybody helped. You know, raise your hands because you had a part in it. That's probably the biggest thing. You know, and every year we do this, and we pull it off every year, and everybody gets to go and experience this. Trip had a good start. We took off out of here in time, and everything was great. And then we got to Charlotte, and there were storms out west, and everything started going downhill after that. So after sitting and waiting for our very first flight, we were delayed, and after, 24 hours or so of flying, we finally arrived at Anchorage in the middle of the night, like 14 hours later we were supposed to, and our bags were still in Charlotte. So that's how it started. And then we found out the van was broken, and they couldn't come pick us up anyway unless we wanted to make a bunch of trips in the truck. And I was getting a little discouraged. We were kind of stuck about an hour and a half away, and couldn't quite get there. And I was feeling like we were not getting stuff going, weren't getting things happening. And I got over that. They finally got us and picked us up, and we got on the road. And the first place we stopped was the hangar. And that was the project that we had planned on working on the whole time we were there. And we realized then that a lot of the stuff that they thought they were going to be able to get done over the winter just hadn't materialized, just with the people and the volunteers and that sort of thing. So our first little setback, or our second little setback after the travel, was the fact that we were going to have to kind of step back and punt, find something else to do, because the hangar work wasn't gonna happen, I didn't think. Pam and Morgan, the folks that were here visiting with us, they put together a little to-do list for us, some odd jobs, and we started working on those. And I was, again, a little disheartened that we weren't working on the project that we had told you we were going to work on and what we had planned to work on, but we got going on it. We were working on the stuff, and I was a little discouraged. And Rusty said something to me, about day 2. He said, no matter what we do, it's helping them. It's taking a task away from them that they don't have to take time to do. They can focus on the next thing, training the pilots, getting the people there, doing the mission that they're called to do. And Daryl sent me a text. I was giving him an update. I can almost hear him snickering as he sent it. He said, the only firm rule is to be flexible. So, I started to get it then. I realized that I was being kind of prideful. I was thinking about the last trip 2 years ago when we got there and just went right to the project and worked. And this one was a little bit different. We were kind of winging it, so to speak, but everything was okay. We got a lot of stuff done. And I think this trip really taught me, after being there a couple days and realizing that, things don't always go as planned. I had my idea, and I was prideful about what we were going to do and what we did last time, but I think seeing the people and how they adapted to change and took things in stride and had faith, I think that's what impacted me the most this trip. I had to realize that I'm not the one that's in control. God's in control, and He's going to put tasks in front of us and things that we can do for others and things we can do to help people. And I think that was the thing that impacted me the most. That was the thing that I brought home from the trip, was I'm not going to be able to set something up. I'm not going to be able to plan things in my time. It's going to be in His time, and it's going to be what He wants us to do, and that's what we ended up doing. And I think that was my big takeaway from the trip. It was a great time. Came a lot closer with everybody, and Janet Louise and Frank aren't going to be able to be here. They had a prior engagement, but they gave us a few little things to talk about from them, so I'll read a couple things from Frank, and then Shelley will talk for Janet Louise. It was Frank's first mission trip, and he really didn't know what to expect, but after being there for a few days, he was very impressed and moved by how trusting people were there, how they didn't, if they needed something, they didn't worry about it, they didn't fret over it, they trusted, and sure enough, usually within a day or two, something happened that it was provided, it was donated, or they figured out how to do it, or somebody came along and knew how to do it, so everything, it happened. And he was impressed as well about how everyone reacted so calmly, and they trusted in the Lord when Joe got hurt, when one of the pilots had an accident when he was transporting an aircraft up. So he was very moved by that. And he was grateful for the opportunity to get to know the other team members. He hadn't been on a trip with everybody before, and he's not in our life group, so he didn't know us that well. He was very, very impressed with that, and that was Frank's takeaway.
So I just have to tell you, getting to know Janet Louise at this trip was it was fun. She is a hoot. I don't know if you've ever had had the pleasure of spending any time with her, but she's really, really a funny lady. And she just wanted us to know that she was really impacted by the young families that were at Kingdom Air Corps. The Lovings moved up from Texas and lived for a good amount of their time in a camper. And they have 3 young boys, and they spend part of their time at Kingdom Air Corps, and they're going to spend part of their time in Thailand. And she was just really impressed by them. And there was another couple that was there for a wedding, and they had given up everything that they had to give their lives to the Lord, go into the mission field in Nicaragua. They were going to go spend 2 years in a language school and then devote their lives in Nicaragua. And they had 4 young children with them. And then Wesley, who was a young man there full-time at Kingdom Air Corps, he got married a couple of weeks ago. And he and his young bride are living in a camper on his truck. So, when you talk about truly sacrificing, I mean, I was complaining about being stuck in the firehouse, and listening to the sound of a pump for the water pump, and they're in a camper, So, I mean, it was truly a blessing to get to know them better, and especially for Janet Louise. And she said she knew about people being called to serve, understood that they leave the life that they know and take risks to go to a foreign place and work to spread the gospel. And seeing the kids there and meeting the families that are traveling around the world with so many kids, living in little campers like I was saying, homeschooling, getting past the language barriers and things like that all gave her a new perspective in what it is to be a missionary. And she was awed and inspired by the trust in the Lord that they have. And she thought it was a beautiful thing to get to know and become closer to all of us as well, especially me because I'm her favorite. For me, though, it was all about grace for me. I really didn't have the heart for this trip to start out with. So many personal things going on with me. And so going out, everything aggravated me from the fact that we were delayed. And then when we get into Seattle, we're told, oh, you're not on this flight. We have no idea what American Airlines is talking about. But God took care of us. He said, okay, we're going to put you on the midnight flight. So we get into Anchorage at 2 a.m. We're all tired of each other. We all smell. We all want to shower. No luggage. Luggage is in Charlotte. And Kathy, bless her heart, she did really well. I don't know how she survived without her luggage, but she did well. We get to the hotel. They have us checking in the following day, which was Friday. It's 2 a.m. Friday, so it's Friday, but it's not ready for check-in. But again, God provided, got us in rooms, and we rested up. We heard from Kingdom Air Corps that they were not really going to be able to pick us up that day, so we went out, had some lunch, just kind of filled our time. We took Ubers to have lunch. It was like $25 each Uber ride, 2 cars, so $50. So we thought, well, that's really crazy, So we found a guy that was willing to give us a ride back to the hotel. And so the guys crammed in the back of his truck, and us girls were up front. And come to find out, he knew Dave King. And it was just really funny how God works things out for us. But when we got to Kingdom Air Corps, the caretaker there, normally when we were there last time, she was very welcoming and inviting. This time I really didn't feel that from her. It was more of, don't touch my things, don't go in the washroom, don't use this, don't use that, take that towel off the window, I've got other things for that. So it made me feel really unwelcome, so I wanted to poke her and I wanted to provoke her. She had a lot of sticky notes all over everything and I wanted to rearrange them. I did. Actually, it was Kathy's idea, but I wanted to help. But the lady that was there, her and her husband that were there, that were the cooks for 6 weeks, we were trying to pull her into it. She was having none of it. I mean, she was a true woman of faith, and she reminded me real quickly that do unto others as you would have done unto you. So I said, okay, I know what the Bible says. I want to go and provoke this person. She's like, no, you can't do that. You need to love her. And so I said, fine. So basically every time she would come into the room, I would just look down. Because, you guys know me, my face just gives me away. And if she had looked at me, it would have not been a nice look. So, for me, it was about grace and, seeing that lady extend grace to this person who was probably really getting on everybody's nerve. But, I didn't realize this until, after we come home, what did I really learn from this trip? And that's really what it was. It was, everybody needs love, even when they're poking and providing you and getting on your nerves and things like that. You got to love them because, that's just how they are. And God put her there for a reason, and I recognize that now. But at the time, it was like aggravating because I felt like she didn't know why we were there. Hey, lady, do you know I'm from Grace Bible Church? I'm here to, do this work. And she's like, lady, I'm here all year long. You need to just leave my stuff alone. So it was kind of like that. But it was a good trip overall.
I'm just trying to fit into the Alaska, stereotype here. I'm going to redo some of their stuff. Everyone's luggage was in Charlotte except for mine and Ryan's. Because it was on our back. Everybody may find, you can't fit 10 days of an Alaska trip into a book bag. Ha! So that was nice, but I really didn't know what to expect into this trip. I've been on a missions trip to Bolivia before, and hearing about what they did last time they were there, I had some expectations. Well, all that got shattered. We didn't get to work on the hangar. We were just winging it, and the whole time I was there, God was teaching me about faith. And I've heard a lot of people say, faith is sitting in a chair, believing the chair is going to hold you up. And I've heard other people say that faith is just sitting down, having faith there will be a chair there that will hold you up. And these people in Alaska, they run on absolute faith. Ryan and I was wiring up an electrical panel that was rated for however many amps, and Ryan's an electrician, so he's explaining to him, if I go over 80% of the amp draw the panel's rated for, it could possibly cause a fire, overamp, trip breakers, and they're just looking at him like, okay, but can you do it? Yeah, I can do it, and they're like, okay, this is Alaska, just do it. So they're just so dependent on God, but they're not worried about it. They're not constantly checking over their shoulder looking for a way out, just another way for them to do it themselves. They're totally reliant on God, and sometimes what God was telling me about faith, sometimes you have to sit and wait. We were going to be working on the hangar, but we had to wait. We had to wait to get to Alaska. We had to wait to get to Kingdom Miracle. We had to wait for them to come up with another job for us to do. And it all produced, in the end, good works, fruit. throughout Kingdom Air Corps, things getting done, but it took a long time getting there, and it didn't get there in the time frame that I had in my mind set it would. So that was nice, but that's about it. And that there's a picture up there of all of us at a creek. That is how they got their water. We did that, having to get running water to the facility because everything was frozen. And I'd say about all of us guys fell in the water. All of us.
Well, this is my first ever attempt at flying, and everybody blamed it on me that we got delayed 8 hours in Charlotte, and their luggage never got there until Seattle or Anchorage. And that felt good. It was like Spencer said, we had ours. But it was awesome. My first mission trip I ever went to is, wow, it was amazing. Just being out there, knowing that what I learned here could help benefit them up in Alaska, from digging trenches for 2 days to unfreeze the water lines and get it back flowing through all the cabins and the firehouse, the airplane hangar, to even hooking up receptacles for newcomers in their campers. It was just a blast just being there. One thing I wasn't really used to, but it surprised me, is very first meal we had up there. We didn't start out praying. We sung in hymns. For every meal we had up there, we sung. And that was breathtaking, because it surprised me, but it was also such a different, good feeling to have. And I just speechless. It was just such an amazing trip, and I can't wait to go back.
This is my second trip to Alaska, and I don't know what it is that just kind of draws me there. My wife wasn't as drawn to it as I was. But it's just, when I got home from it, it was humbling and convicting that the Lord looked at me and says, okay, you gave me 10 days out of your normal comfort zone. That's nothing. And what really convicted me was, and I'll touch on what Shelley and Spencer also touched on, I had a missionary family up there who, he and his wife take their 3 kids, and in the winters they go to Thailand and serve with the Free Burma Rangers. And in the summers they come to Alaska, and he trains. He's given his whole life. He's taken his kids all over the world to serve. I'm giving you 10 days. I really felt like it's very minimal that what I had given versus what they give. And their comfort zone is their life. It's 24/7 all year long, every year. So, but it's, taking Shane with us and being the professional photographer that he is, it really reflected more. We went 2 weeks earlier this year. I thought the beauty of it was more because the snow was still on the mountains. But this trip would never have happened without John. In the early beginnings, John said, will you lead this? I said, John, I just started a new job. I can't. I really don't have time. So he took it and ran with it just like he did the time before, but it would not have happened. And just getting to know the 2 guys, the younger guys, it felt like Kathy and I were traveling with Ethan and Evan. We're getting away from it. No, you're not. But no, it was good, and I'm not going to take any more time. But yeah, next time instead of 9, I would like to have like 29, because Misty and Dwayne this time, he just got married and hadn't made it back to Kingdom Air. But truly, you need to go. I eagerly advise you to go because it's just great.
We said that it wasn't going to be cold. I should bring my bathing suit. There was going to be cheer wine with crushed ice and rose petals with the lei waiting on me when I got there.
And that you didn't have to.
That I do not have to work hard. That's a given, he said.
Well, Rusty, what do you have to say about that?
She's full of it.
I think you said Joey lies.
And Joey lies.
So, Colin talked last week about fears, things you were afraid of. And one of my things is speaking in front of people. I can handle Yes! So, I can handle 7-year-olds. I do it, or I did, every day of my life. But in front of all of you people, I don't like it. So, I wore my contact today, because when I have my contact in, I can't see far away, so I can't see any of you. But, this fear is enough. I just don't want to go on a mission trip because I don't want to have to talk about it when I come back. So I said, Joey, 2 things. He asked me if I would go to Alaska, and I said yes, under 2 conditions. First of all, I don't have to work hard. And second of all, I don't have to talk about it when I come back. So I just want y'all to know that Joey lies. Well, he does. But Alaska was beautiful. I had an awesome time. It was like I was being on vacation with my 2 sons. They didn't mention when we stayed in the hotel, each couple got an extra one since it was an uneven number. Well, Rusty and I got Ryan and Spencer for 2 nights at the hotel that we were at. And I don't know how many times I kept saying, all right, Ethan, stop it. Or Evan, stop that, So with them, but they were great. They really worked hard. I was proud of them. They did an awesome job. Spencer is Evan. Ryan is Ethan. So I loved getting to know Janet Louise and Frank. Janet Louise has a good sense of humor, kind of like myself. She and I had a good time, and we tried to pull Shelly over on the dark side a couple times, but Shelly was good. And John and Shelly, they, like Rusty said, this trip really wouldn't have happened if it wouldn't have been for them. They took care of a lot of the details and made sure we got everywhere we needed to be. And Shane was just patient with all of us. He just kind of looked at me like I had 2 heads sometimes and just shook his head. But anyway, we had some bumps and some setbacks, and getting there was kind of rough, but we got there. We had a great time. God provided for us, and just like he does the missionaries there, you think about all that they give up to serve the Lord and all that they do, but he always provided for them in some way at some time, and he really, in more ways than what they expected, so it was good. So, one of the things that I worked on while I was there, which Joey did not lie in that part, I did not really have to work that hard, but I would find myself in the hangar with this older gentleman named Russ. And so he let me work on the airplanes. I would take screws out of the wings, and he asked me to change this one air filter, right? Yeah, it was an air filter, and he said, just go in there, and it's white, and it's round, and it looks like this, and you just need to take the screw in. I said, well, can I take a picture of it and make sure I undo the right thing? And he said, yeah, just go in there and take a picture. So I did, and it was the right thing. But when we got ready to fly, one of the pilots up there took us out flying, which was absolutely beautiful to fly over the glaciers and the mountains. I made sure that was not the plane I was flying in. It's like, but anyway. But thank you all for supporting us and praying for us while we were there. We sure felt your prayers, and we couldn't have done it without you. Thank you. And Joey lies.
I wanted to know what happened to the pictures that we had of Kathy working. There was one with her supervising in the kitchen. It didn't make it. Oh, okay. Then there was another one with her with a wheelbarrow. And that's in there too. Okay, I missed. But nestled in the top of the world is this small grassy airstrip around which Kingdom Air is based. And they minister to pilots, pilot trainees, and mission volunteers that come from around the world to come there. And there are so many different lessons, for the men, the women, and even the children that are served or are also serving. One of the things I didn't mention about in Thailand, I think one of the pilots there was helping to get planes ready to do mission work in Indonesia in the Far East. But in Thailand, they couldn't actually have it in their own name, so they had to do it under auspices of some other organization that was local. And they were finally able to do that, and as a result, were able to minister to some little girl was at and get this little girl to the hospital. One of the first missions that they had over there as a result of Kingdom Air Corps. So some of the, we go up there and we're involved with maintenance type issues and everything, but it's a great help to those people. We help them get the camp open. And when Spencer was talking about their water, actually comes from the other side of the mountain. It's at least a half a mile or more of 2-inch pipe that's gravity fed. That's why when it's frozen, we had to go up and thaw it out and break loose and everything. But spiritually, many lessons that we learn, as well as the other people that go and visit there, they learn, as we've been talking about, learning to rely and trust on God daily. And one of the best lessons that people see is the willingness of so many to come in and freely minister and serve, even without being asked. Our main pilot, the one that took us up there, and Kathy and I were in that plane, was Zach. And I saw him one morning in there, and I got a picture of him. I probably saw it a while ago. Him washing dishes, and nobody asked anybody to wash dishes. Just people just pitched in, and it was wonderful to see that. Zach also shared a devotional with us one morning. But I believe one of the main attractions there is just the extreme, almost magical quality of the beauty there. God's awesome snow-covered mountains, the azure blue sky, and the snowy glaciers. Wildlife. We saw eagles. We saw moose. When you got the plane, you got to see the mountain goats. And just God's presence and His beauty is clearly seen in His creation there. Psalm 19:1 says, "The heavens declare the glory of God. Day after day they give testimony of God's handiwork. Night after night they reveal knowledge of God." Yet we're busy with many different projects. It's kind of a slower pace than most of us are used to, but then it was daylight almost all day long. We went to sleep in the daylight and woke up just a few hours later, and it was still daylight. But I believe we witnessed God's work through the service of so many volunteers that we talked about, sharing their lives and resources to reach the lost around the globe. I believe that overwhelming beauty of creation there, we felt closer to God because there was not as much noise. TVs were off. We did have our phones out, and that was great to be able to communicate back and forth. And especially when one of the pilots that was bringing your plane back, that's the reason we weren't able to do any work on the hangar. He was involved in an accident. One of the engines failed and he ended up crashing. And it was such an older plane, he only had a lap belt, so when he crashed, he hit his head forward and ended up with some substantial injuries. But we saw him a few days later, and he was walking and talking, and he was going to recover pretty good. Someone asked the other day while we were there what the most enjoyable moments we had, and I would say just the time that we had with people there. I was able to play soccer one day with some of the little kids there, and I was thinking at the same time my granddaughter was playing her last soccer game. I got to play a little bit with them, and that was wonderful. But one of the disappointments we had was not being able to see Dwayne and get together with him. But there was just so much that I think we're going to be seeing and thinking back on blessings that God has given us through that trip for many years to come. I want to thank Grace Bible for helping us make the offering of our 10-day part of our life to this place. And I know it was a big help to them because they're able to now carry on their camps and their schools and everything throughout the year. I just want to thank you very much. And John, did you want to close prayer? Want me to pray? I'll close this in prayer. Father, we just thank you so much for your overwhelming love for us and your beauty. Lord, we feel closer to you when we're in places like that because it's so quiet, and we're able to listen to the winds. We're able to hear the birds and the eagles and even the wolves out there, and the pseudo wolves, Ryan and Spencer. But Lord, we just thank you for the opportunity to go and be able to minister to these people and be ministered to as well. And we pray for future trips that you will continue to gird us up and prepare leaders like we have with John and making these trips possible, as well as performing a real ministry. In Jesus' name.